Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. Right, let's get into it. Is Benjamin Cesco that good? Because there's differing opinions out there. I like Cesco. I think he's got a lot of potential. But there are people out there who just think he's already amazing and want to tell you why he's amazing. And there's people out there who think he's a flop and he's not that good. And I think actually there are so many different levels to this and some really interesting things where he performs very badly and some very interesting things where he performs really good, and how us as a club should be looking to nurture and develop what he does good, because I think he's a chance magnet and I think that's a big positive. So we're going to go through, we're going to compare him to Haaland, Voltemeda, Mbeumo, Gyökeres, Watkins this season, so there's nowhere to hide. We're going to do goals per 90, shots per 90, goal conversion, dribbles, loss index, which is very interesting, the loss index, how much these people give the ball away, offensive duels, aerial duels, passes per 90, and we'll go through all of that, and then I'll give you my thoughts as well. But first and foremost, this is the striker that Manchester United chose in the summer. This is the striker that Favel wanted from Leipzig. And it's fair to say it's been a bit of a mixed bag. At the start, he wasn't really playing that much. He's still not necessarily a starter for United. But the last action we had was his stoppage time equaliser in fantastic fashion against West Ham. So let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about shots per 90. Let's talk about goals per 90. So for this season, and I just need to update this because I don't want last calendar year, because that will take into Leipzig. So goals per 90 this current season is at 0.34 goals per 90. Haaland is over 1, Voltemeda is 0.4, Mbeumo is 0.34, Gyökeres is 0.44 and Watkins is 0.28. So he's okay. He's slightly under Mbeumo, he's slightly above Watkins, he's below Voltemeda, Gyökeres and Haaland. But how many shots does he get per 90 comparable to everyone else? Well, again, Haaland's out in front with 3.5 shots per 90. You've then got Cesco second with 2.88, which is a long way ahead of Mbeumo's 2, or Gyökeres' 2.1, or Watkins' 2.1, or Voltemeda's horrific, almost United under with Rasmus 1.4 shots per game. So he's getting a lot of chances. His conversion rate could probably be a little bit better. He has a percentage conversion rate of 11%. So he converts 11% of his chances. Haaland is 30%, Voltemeda is 28%, Mbeumo is 16%, Gyökeres is 20%, and Watkins is 13%. So he's the lowest out of all of them for goal conversion. But I'm quite comfortable with that. And people will say, well, there's your first negative. And it is. Let's call it what it is. I mean, I think some people want to pretend that Cesco's the answer to Man United's problems, and he isn't. I think he can be, but he isn't yet. So there's a lot of nurturing to do. And his goal conversion rate is not very good compared to Watkins, Gyökeres, Mbeumo, Voltemeda and Haaland. It isn't. However, he's second in shots per 90. So he's not converting the chances, but he's getting the second most chances out of all those strikers we've mentioned. This is what I've been talking about, Cesco. Darwin Núñez was the same at Liverpool and was probably the same. He probably had lots of shots and a very low conversion rate. However, I choose to see the positive, because when you look at the age of these strikers, he is the youngest, which means he's got more years to learn. He was never prolific at Leipzig. We need to try and make him more prolific. But being somebody that gets in the right places for chances is a skill. And he obviously does get in the right positions to have chances. Obviously, we need him to convert them, but he's getting into the right position. So I actually see that as a positive, whereas some people might see it as a negative. Dribbles per 90 is quite interesting as well. I want to just move on to some of the more important things like loss index, etc. In fact, we'll do loss index. Let's do dribbles first, because loss index might be another negative. So dribbles per 90, he averages 1.7, which is less than Watkins' 2.2. It's less than Gyökeres' 2. It's less than Mbeumo's 3.4, but it's more than Voltemeda's 1.3, and it's more than Haaland's 1. So he is sort of mid-range. Mbeumo and Gyökeres do a lot of dribbling, so does Watkins. Cesco's slightly below that, but he's higher than Voltemeda and Haaland. Interestingly, successful dribbles is around 40%, which everybody is apart from Watkins, who's very good at it with 60%. So he offers a little bit of that. Haaland doesn't offer that at all. Voltemeda doesn't offer that at all. So he does offer the ability to get the ball and run with it. Maybe not as much as Mbeumo, who's a winger, or Gyökeres, who likes to do it, or Watkins, who likes to do it. But he does offer that. It's a string to his bow. This next one, though, is possibly the biggest issue at the moment, loss index. Now, this is exclusive to Y-Scout, which is what I use for stats. So your loss index is basically all of the times you lose the ball divided by your successful actions. So if you lose the ball 8 times and you only do 2 successful actions in 90 minutes, your loss index is 4. So the higher your loss index, the worse, basically. He has a very high loss index. Unfortunately, has exactly the same loss index as Gyökeres. So Haaland is 2.3 loss index. Voltemeda is 7.3, which is massive. Mbeumo is 3. Gyökeres is 4.4. Ollie Watkins is 3.3. And Cesco is 4.4. So he's quite high. I mean, he's not Voltemeda. I mean, the ball basically is going to Voltemeda and he's losing it loads. Mbeumo and Haaland and Watkins are reasonable at holding the ball up. Gyökeres and Sesko lose the ball a lot as well. So that's something you want him to improve on, because I can understand why Newcastle might lose the ball a lot, because they're maybe a bit of a counter-attacking team. But you want the ball to go up to Sesko and you want it to stick. It does with Mbeumo. It doesn't with Sesko. So that's an area that, you know, he does need to improve on. It's important. It's important. And I think that leads into passing. How many passes does he play per 90? Because holding on to the ball allows you to pass the ball. If you're losing the ball a lot, then obviously you're not going to be passing it as much. So if you look at someone like Mbeumo, remember he holds on to the ball quite well. 27 passes per 90. He obliterates everybody else. In second place, you've got Voltemeda with 15 passes per 90. You've got Watkins with 13 passes per 90. You've got Cesco with 12 passes per 90, same as Gyökeres, and Haaland on 10. It's interesting with Gyökeres and Cesco. They have a lot of similar stats, which is maybe why Arsenal were looking at them. But it also, I think, shows that, well, they're different on service. Gyökeres doesn't get the service that Cesco gets, but it is quite interesting. But I would just repeat about age. 25 Haaland, 24 Voltemeda, 26 Mbeumo, 27 Gyökeres, 30 Watkins, 22 Cesco. So time is on his side by 3 years here. These are all things that can be worked on without a shadow of a doubt. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is aerial duels. I think this is obviously something that we can utilise. So aerial duels per 90. He's in number 1 position. 6.3 aerial duels per 90 compared to Voltemeda's 5, Haaland's 3.3, Gyökeres 3.3, Watkins 3.3, and as expected, Mbeumo 2.5, because he's probably the smallest of the lot. And he wins 50% of those aerial duels compared to Haaland's 60, but Haaland's in less. Voltemeda's 40, Mbeumo 17, Gyökeres 28. That, to me, shows that out of all those strikers, I think he's the tallest, he's involved in more aerial duels, and he wins more aerial duels than them on volume. And he obliterates Mbeumo. So you get 2 different things with Mbeumo and Cesco. You do. And I think with Cesco, we saw it against West Ham, we've got to put more crosses into the box to him. His hold-up play may not be great. His conversion rate may not be great. But his aerial ability is fantastic. And he's still learning the role. So is Cesco that good? I suppose is the question, to which the answer is yes and no. I personally really like Cesco. I think that he has an incredible aptitude to learn, professionalism, and he's still very, very young. There are issues in his game that may never be solved or could be solved. I think he can solve his conversion rate. I think when you can score a goal like you did against West Ham, the big positive for me is he's getting a lot of chances. He's only second to Erling Haaland out of all the strikers in the Premier League for shots per game. But his conversion rate is not very good. So I would be like, well, we don't need to change how many chances you're getting. That's a positive. We need to work on your finishing, which we can do. So I see that as a positive. As for the loss index, look, maybe that is going to be a weakness. Maybe his ability to keep the ball is going to be a weakness. Maybe because he's so big. Maybe, I don't know. But maybe that will be a weakness, but maybe it's something we can improve on. And something we can definitely improve on is getting some fullbacks into the team that can put crosses in, because if he is winning 50% of his aerial duels, that means if you put a cross into the box, he's going to get on the end of it. Like, it's such an easy thing to be better at, and it's such an asset to have. So I think with Cesco, in many ways, it probably shows to me why there are some doubters. It probably shows to me why there's some delusion about him being perfect. And I think that I like doing these sort of videos when you've got a bit of evidence, and we're halfway through the season, because we're starting to see what he's doing in the Premier League. The positives are that he's scored a few goals. The positives are he gets into the right positions and he has quite a lot of shots. The positives are he's fantastic in the air. And the positives are his work rate. The negatives to work on are conversion rate. The negatives to work on are how many times he loses the ball as well. And the negatives to work on are what he does with the ball when he gets it. Passing, holding up the ball, conversion rate. You can work on all of those. So there's a lot of work to do, but Cesco is doing probably exactly what I would have thought in year one. When you go for Watkins, you're going for the finished article. When you go for Cesco, who's never played in this league and was never prolific at Leipzig, you're going for a player for the future. And actually, as long as he can keep improving, it'll be very interesting to compare these stats in a year's time and see if he has improved on the loss index, if he has improved on the passing, and if he has improved on the conversion rate. Because if he can convert more chances, he will score a lot of goals in the Premier League. Let me know your thoughts. Smash a like if you like this type of video. We've got one on Le Mans coming up very soon as well, which is very interesting too, comparing him to other goalkeepers. So get subscribed, get your comments in. I'll speak to you on the next one.